it's time to move on to the UMass Minutemen for 2024 predictions. And okay. I hear all of you out there. Save your jokes. We know this is a team and a program that has not been the greatest since they joined the FBS ranks. But it feels like over the past couple of seasons under Don Brown, they have made some very significant strides. And now with a move back to the Mid-American Conference looming next season, this is the time for UMass to really improve before they join their old conference. Can UMass in 2024 have one of, if not the best season in program history? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth, not the move. You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. I want to welcome you to my channel, welcome you to prediction season, and hey, thank you so much for all your support this prediction season. It sadly is almost over. But again, guys, I just want to thank you so much for your support. The channel has seen, again, another significant worth of summer growth, and I'm very thankful for it. And if you want to continue to help support the channel, well, I just got to say thank you for watching this video. That's a huge way for you to help support this channel. It's a huge way to help support what I do here on YouTube. Go back and watch my other videos. But if you're as big of a college football nerd as I am, and you're gonna want to hear what I have to say during the college football season, which means you got to subscribe, you got to ring the bell, you won't miss an upload that way. And please also like, comment, share, do anything else you can to help support the channel. It all means a lot to me, and it all helps to grow what I do here on YouTube. If that's something you are willing and able to do, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's dive on in talking about the UMass Minutemen now in 2024. But before we do that, got to know how we're going to talk about them. We'll take a deep dive into the team's offense, into the defense. Then at the end of the video, we'll go through the UMass football schedule, give it a good old game-by-game preview and prediction. A couple more things I do want to say. Boom! Right over here will be the stats the team put up, either offensively or defensively last season. And of course, for your viewing pleasure, right down there below the team's logo, we went ahead and put the team's coaching staff for you. Let's waste no more time. Let's talk about this offense for the UMass Minutemen, which honestly, guys, if you go back and take a look at recent history and everything of the sort, this has not been as bad of an offense as we are traditionally used to seeing out of the UMass Minutemen. Again, they have had some pretty solid talent. They have developed some guys pretty darn well. A couple of those guys are going to be leaving here to go off to new programs through various different rooms. Some guys have graduated. But let's go ahead and take a dive here into what the UMass Minutemen have leaving and then have coming back offensively for you. You do lose a couple faces out of the quarterback room from last season. Both of them did have at least three passes thrown. But we'll talk about Brady Olson first. He was the guy that threw 3 passes for you last season. Didn't complete a single one of them. One of them was thrown for an interception as well, so not that much production losing for him. But you do lose Carlos Davis, who was the primary backup for you last season. 886 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. He even at times looked better than the primary starting quarterback, the guy that had the most passing yards for you last year. So you lose a fairly talented piece when Carlos Davis leaves the quarterback room, but you do return the starter from last season. It's Tyson Fomacon. Of course, he was at Clemson. Then he was at Georgia Tech. Now he's at UMass. And it's kind of hard to say where the expectation lies, for me at least, for Tyson Fomacon. Just let me read you what he did last year. 1,507 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. And it's not the guy that's going to get outside of the pocket and run. 38 yards rushing and only 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, he did throw 227 passes last year, 61.2% completion percentage, and 6.6 yards per completion. Well, I got to tell you that yards per completion has got to go up. And look, I don't think you're going to be trying to ask for a lot for Tyson Fomacon at all. Yes, it would be nice to have a guy that could throw for 2,500 to 3,000 yards for 20 to 25 touchdowns, things like that. But out of Tyson Fomacon, I think you're looking for maybe 2,000 yards, maybe looking for 15 touchdowns. Again, there have been some flashes throughout his career where he has looked pretty darn good. You're going to need him to have a full season like that here if UMass is going to want to elevate from where this program has been before. You do get Ahmad Haston, however you pronounce the last name, back as well. 17 passes thrown, 11 of them completed for 176 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick last season. You also do get Ryan Jankowski, who's coming in through the transfer portal. Okay, let's talk about this running back room now, and you lose 2 very important pieces off of last year's team. Even though Karen Lynch-Adams is listed second, there you go, there's the S for it. Even though he's listed second, he was the team's leading rusher last season. It just fit better for formatting purposes. 1,157 yards, 12 touchdowns on 236 carries. So you're going to be losing him, as well as Greg DeRozier's. Hopefully I'm saying that name correctly, but 301 yards, 4 touchdowns on only 37 carries. That's over 8 yards per carry. Really, really good player there. You're going to be losing him out of the running back room. So who do you return here? Well, Jalen John will be coming back. 10 carries for 31 yards last year. But when losing DeRozier's, losing Lynch Adams, you needed to step up and have some guys come in through the portal. That's exactly what happened. Brandon Campbell is in, CJ Hester is in, and Cookie Desiderio, hopefully I'm saying that name right, are all coming in through the portal. They all, at very least, are going to see some significant playing time. And very well, one of those three guys could end up proving to be the leading rusher for the Minutemen this season. When you're talking about this wide receiver room, well, you do lose some really talented pieces here that are going to be gone and off through the transfer portal, most notably in your second leading receiver from last season, and George Johnson III. 421 yards and 3 touchdowns from last year. Mark Pope was right behind him as the team's third leading receiver, and no, he's not off through the portal. He is gone due to graduation. You also do lose a couple other guys, such as Scott Harris and Christian Wells, two guys that both had over 100 receiving yards for the team last season. So again, some very important pieces will be leaving this wide receiver room. All right, real quickly, we got to talk about what comes back here. Really only one big notable returner that returned specifically in the wide receiver room, and that is your leading receiver from last year in Anthony Simpson. 792 yards, not 62, 792 yards, 3 touchdowns on 57 catches last season, and a ton of talent coming in through the portal. Frank Ladson Jr., yeah, he's coming over from Clemson. Sterling Galvin, Jacoby Keeney James, Sam Staruch, hopefully I'm saying that name correctly, and Keyshawn Brown, among many others. And look, when you take a look at this tight end room as well, Gino Campiati is gone through the portal. Gone due to graduation, and Falai is the guy off through the portal. But Campiati, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns for you last season, was the team's leading touchdown, or I should say led the team in touchdown receptions last season. And then when you go ahead and take a look at what comes back in this tight end room, really nobody. It's all guys through the portal. Dominic Mazzotti is in through the portal. Jalen Lay and Noah Staples, all guys in that wide receiver room and the tight end room. This is a pass catching room that is heavily built off the portal, with the biggest return that you can get in your leading receiver from last year, Anthony Simpson. Offensive line room, you do lose 2 guys gone and off due to graduation. Marcellus Anderson and Cole Garcia are both gone, while Johnny Hassard has entered the transfer portal. And when you go ahead and take a look at what comes back, well, Ethan Mottinger, Josh Atwood, and Wyatt Turlack will all be coming back, while Paul Chio, Mal Glynn, and Braden Rome are all coming in through the transfer portal. So when you talk about this UMass offense here, again, it's just a lot of pieces that have to fit into place. Tyson Fomacon has got to improve at the quarterback position. Again, you don't need him to be a game breaker. You don't need him to be the savior. You don't need him to be anything super fantastic. He doesn't need to be like one of the best quarterbacks in Group of 5. You just need him to form chemistry with these pieces coming in the wide receiver room, form chemistry with these tight end pieces, form chemistry with these running backs, get the offense moving at a steady and effective rate. And if you can ask that from him, and if all the transfers fit in nicely, well, I see no reason to why this offense can't improve for the Minutemen here in 2024. Does it? Again, it all depends how everything fits together here for Don Brown's football team. You go ahead and move on into the defensive side of the football, and it looks like this. Okay, let's talk about this defense now. Obviously, that 37.8 points per game mark has to go down. The 427 yards per game mark has to go down. But when you look at the actual breakdown, the secondary was not what was really cost the team. Now, granted, I don't think teams threw the ball as much on UMass as they ran the ball, and it was because of this fact right here. The run defense was not good in really any facet for the team last season. 220.8 rushing yards per game allowed is just not going to get it done. 45% on third down is not going to get it done. And there are a lot of things on this defense. Look, Don Brown is a defensive guy. He knows how to get defenses moving. And while the defense has seen improvements from years prior before Don Brown came in, it's still got a ways to go, as you can clearly see. Does lose some really important pieces out of the defensive line room, which we will talk about here right now. It does lose Billy Wooden, as well as J.B. Brown, Cletus Matherin, and Uchenna Ezewike. Hopefully I'm saying all those names right. We'll tell you what all those guys did here, or at least some of them. Wooden, last season, third leading tackler. 51 tackles, 6.5 sacks for you last season. Very, very good player. JB Brown again, also a really important piece last season. 37 tackles, 2.5 sacks. Again, you're losing some really good talent, and another one does leave when Marcus Bradley has gone and off through the transfer portal. Again, those first four names graduated. Marcus Bradley has gone and off through the transfer portal. And again, just some really big pieces gone out of this defensive line room. Okay, what comes back in the defensive line room? I will tell you right now, I am going to butcher this name in its entirety, so I apologize sincerely, but Zukudo Iguanagu. He is going to be coming back on the defensive line for this team. 29 tackles and a sack last season. He'll be paired with Aaron Beckwith, Chambry Jackson, and Luce Julian. Hopefully I'm saying that name correctly. You get all those guys coming back, as well as some guys through the transfer portal. Jalen Hudson and Eddie Nosa Rubin are all guys that you could see coming in, play some big minutes. Again, those guys coming in through the portal. Linebacker room, let's talk about it. Najee Logan is going to be gone. He is often gone through the transfer portal. 59 tackles, tied for the leading tackling spot last year. Half a sack with one pass defended. Jerry Roberts Jr. As well gone. 38 tackles and one pass defended. He is gone and off due to graduation. So you go ahead and take a look at what comes back in this linebacker room with no notable transfers. It's all going to be returners. And all these guys, in different ways, played some pretty big roles for this defense last year. Jarrell Johnson was a top 5 tackler, 51 tackles and a sack. Did have an interception last season as well. Jalen Stewart, Darion Craig, Tyler Martin, Dominic Schofield, and many more names that you could mention as well. All of them are going to be coming back here in the linebacking room for the Minutemen this season. Okay, now on to the defensive back room. Jordan Mahoney, probably you could argue one of, if not your best defensive players off of last year's team, is gone and off through the portal. He's a very, very talented corner, and even though the stat line isn't going to blow you away, 29 tackles, 3 passes defended last year. He made 20 of those tackles quite simply by himself. And when you go ahead and take a look at everything in this cornerback room, what you have coming back, what you lose, Jordan Mahoney, just a very talented piece. You also are going to be losing Michael Upon, but more of a depth piece than anything. So losing him, yes, is going to hurt, but not as much as losing Jordan Mahoney. You also do lose Noah Boykin, who has gone off due to graduation. Boykin last year, 14 tackles, 2 passes defended in there as well. Let's take a look right now what they lose out of the safety room as well. More guys gone due to graduation. Really talented piece in Deshaun Jerkins, 31 tackles, 4 passes defended, and an interception for the team last season. Jordan Lua and Jalen Farrell are also all going to be gone. But hey, you still return some really good defensive back talent. Isaiah Rutherford is coming back, as well as Gerard Cameron. Those are some guys that'll be back in the cornerback room for you this year. 22 tackles, 3 passes defended, and a pick for Rutherford last season. You also are going to be bringing in some guys in the cornerback room through the portal. Lake Ellis, Brendan Bailey, and Ryan Barnes are all names that come in. And out of the safety room, well, your leading tackler is back. He, again, tied with Najee Logan last year, but Terai Powell back in the safety room. Tyler Rudolph, Jeremiah McGill, and Jalen Harrell are all names that you see coming back in the defensive back room, especially to play safety, while Jadrian Gibbs has entered through the transfer portal. Kickers are people too. We got to show them some love. Oh, wait, I did forget to mention one stat here. Jordan Lua, I needed to mention, is a pretty big loss out of the safety room because not only the pair with 23 tackles last year, led the team in picks and passes defended out of the safety position. 5 pass defended, 2 picks, again, to go along with 23 tackles. But now we'll dive on into your kickers. Again, they're people too. Cameron Carson has gone and off through the transfer portal. And well, that's really only the notable loss you see there. Again, he's out of the kicking room. So you do get CJ Coladiezi, who's going to be coming back. I know I butchered that name entirely. Blame me for it in the comment section. It's okay. A punter and kicker kind of combo, does a little bit of everything, and Riley Moore and Michael Cooper back to be the kicker for you this year. What needs to improve? Obviously, that defensive front. I mean, that rush defense has got to get better. You cannot have that bad of a run. You cannot have as bad of a run defense as you had last season. It just can't happen. And when you go ahead and take a look at this defense as a whole, yes, it loses some really good talent in the defensive back 7, but overall, you got to improve that rush defense. That's got to be the first thing to get better. And again, Don Brown has seen this defense see significant improvements from where this program usually sits. It's going to get better this season as well. And it's just by the nature of, look, they did lose some really good talent, yes. It's just by the nature of the system is going to be more and more set in place here with the UMass Minutemen. Let's go ahead and take a look at now the 2024 football schedule for the UMass Minutemen, and it's going to play out like this. Hey, any game at home is going to be underlined. Well, any game on the road is in italics. Guys, that's that slanted text. Any game you see in green is the game that I think that the UMass Minutemen are going to be able to win fairly easily. Any game in yellow is going to be a close competitive game, but one I still think they're going to win, and any game in red is a loss. There will not be a game in green here. I will just warn you. However, there potentially could be. We'll talk about them as they come along, but let's dive on into the schedule now. You get to start out your schedule with 3 MAC opponents. Hey, those are all teams that you have seen at one point here. Again, UMass being a former Mid-American Conference team, and you will see next year in the future potentially as well, now that they're entering the Mid-American Conference. So they get a little taste of what life is going to be like in this new era of the Mid-American Conference. And, well, I got to tell you, with the 5 MAC teams they're playing with the 1 FCS school sandwiched in there, you're really going to get a taste of life in MACtion play during this first week of the season. You're going to lose to the Eastern Michigan Eagles. They get Cole Snyder coming over from Buffalo. He's going to be able to revamp that offense that just could not get anything last season. And I think Eastern Michigan going to be better than they were this year, even though they lose, or better than they were last year, even though they lose their top 2 linebackers from last season. Still got some good defensive pieces, and Chris Creighton's a pretty darn good head coach. You also are going to lose to the Toledo Rockets, who I know lost everybody from last year, to Quan Finn, Penny Boone. Yes, Tucker Gleason's going to give you some solid quarterback play, and you also got a lot of returning talent in that wide receiver room. Toledo also has one of the better head coaches in the Mid-American Conference in Jason Candle, and apologies if I already said that. I had to pause and go take care of something real quick, but Toledo's still going to be a pretty talented team this year. Even with all they lost, that's going to be a loss for the UMass Minutemen, and then you figure this road game against Buffalo also going to be a loss. Not the way that I see it. I actually think UMass is going to be able to pick up a win against the MAC team this year. And while it very well may be against the only team you have at home in Eastern Michigan, as they try to give that offense some life and try to get Cole Snyder developed into that system in-game reps and in-game minutes, I think the weakest MAC side they're playing this year by far is the Buffalo Bulls. And I think they are going to be able to get that win against Buffalo. Yes, it's a road game here, but Buffalo is going to be rolling with CJ Ogbonna at quarterback this year. They do lose Cole Snyder, which means they lose the ability for him to try to improve on what he did in 2022 or in 2023 and try to get back to what he did in 2022. Buffalo is still very much a team that's got some good pieces and got some good talent. But out of all the MAC sides that UMass plays this year, it's a team that I like the least. I think they get a win against at least one MAC side this year. And how about that? UMass, for their first win of the year, picks up a road win against the Buffalo Bulls, and that is going to lead to some pretty good things here for this team, because I think they'll use that momentum carryover and beat Central Connecticut State. Now, not a team that I am super familiar with talent-wise out of the FCS ranks. From what I understand, I think they're a fairly solid side, but not one that I think is going to be able to beat the UMass Minutemen. However, UMass, now you get to see what the upper echelon of the Mid-American Conference looks like. You already got a taste of it with Toledo. You get even more when you play the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Just not a game you're going to be able to win. Miami, Ohio is going to be very talented this season. Brett Gabbert is coming back. They got the best 2 linebackers probably in the entire conference. And yeah, they both play for the Redhawks. Ty Wise and of course, Matt Salopek, who feels like he's been with that program forever. But regardless, Miami won the MAC last year. They're going to look to defend it. That's going to be a loss for the Minutemen. They're also going to be losing here to the Northern Illinois Huskies, another team that's got a lot of pretty darn good talent on it. Northern Illinois has seen an up and down trend throughout their time under Thomas Hammock. Last year was an up, which means this year should be a down. That's not what I think. I think this team is going to see some consistency. They're going to be one of the better teams in the MAC. They can contend for a MAC title, and that is going to be a loss for the UMass Minutemen. You get into the second half of the schedule now, and I mean, look, the second half of the schedule is much more brutal than the first half. Much more brutal. Home game against Missouri. Yes, it's at home, but you have no business beating the Missouri Tigers, a team that can push for a college football playoff spot this season. Brady Cook, Luther Burden, some really good defensive pieces. You're bringing in 2 exceptional running backs and Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel. I mean, this is just a game that I don't see UMass being able to win at all, and I don't even think they're going to be competitive. I think Missouri is going to blow them out of the water, and then you get your first bye week here. But after your first bye week, you should be able to beat the Wagner Skyhawks, a team that, again, not super familiar with out of the FCS ranks. I think they're pretty solid, but overall, I see UMass being able to get that done. So how about that? 3 wins for the Minutemen is what I'm predicting so far this year. It's going to be tough to get a win the rest of the way. You got to go on the road and play the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And even though, again, I don't love the Jeff Lebby hire, just not necessarily in terms of Mississippi State could have gone out and got someone better. I just, again, Jeff Lebby, I'm not really sure what he's going to be able to do as a head coach. I'm just not really in love with the hire. And I think Mississippi State struggles this season, but overall they are much more talented than UMass. They're going to be able to get that one done. You got to play one of the best teams in Group of Five, the best team in Conference USA in the Liberty Flames. They were the Group of Five champions last year. They could be again this year. Caden Salter, Quentin Cooley. What more do I have to say? Liberty's going to beat UMass after UMass's second bye week. Come on. And I know I said to save your jokes in the intro, but I mean, come on. Does this one even need an explanation? You're not going to go on the road and beat the Georgia Bulldogs, the national title betting favorite, I do believe. If not, they're second behind the Ohio State Buckeyes. Doesn't matter. Georgia's going to be in contention for the national title this year. UMass has no business going on the road in Athens and winning that game. But then you have this one, a home game against the UConn Huskies. Now, very interesting one. This is going to be a big, big game that decides between maybe a 2 or 3 win or a 3 or 4 win season. For me, as I'm predicting it right now, it's between a 3 and 4 win season for them. I think it's going to be a 3-win season for UMass. And I think UConn has got some pretty darn good talented pieces on it. You bring in Nick Evers at quarterback. Now, again, who knows what he's going to give you, kind of a mystery, but could give you some really, really solid play. You're bringing in some good wide receiver pieces, some really good defensive pieces. I think UConn could contend to get to a bowl game this year, and I do believe that they will be beating the UMass Minutemen. Again, leading to a 3-9 record the year before you join the MAC. Now, could things get better for UMass when they enter the MAC? Potentially, but again, I think Don Brown has got the right idea here. Continue to see some steady increase with this team. You head into the MAC next season, and even though, again, it's just going to be really tough for you to make a bowl game of this season. I mean, you got that back half of the schedule is absolutely brutal. You got to play some of the better sides in the Mid-American Conference ahead of going into the Mid-American Conference next year. UMass, I think, sees some improvement in ways, but not close to a bowl game this season. But I want to know what you guys think. So please, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. In my next video, we'll talk about the Temple Owls. Goodbye.